Okay, so I always try to do 2 videos a day. And bear with me, I'm going to walk around a little bit. I wasn't planning on doing that, but sometimes it just happens. I got to turn the light off because it's getting a little darker. There we go. Let there be light. Let there be light. Okay, now I'm going to talk about a few people or a few friends without really naming all of the names, but I'll name one that I really, really care about. If any of my other friends are watching this or end up watching this, want me to mention them, tell me what you want me to mention, and I'll do that in a video. But I'm not going to focus on anything I don't feel resonated with. If you're trying to tell me to promote a certain idea that I don't agree with, I'm not going to do that because it wouldn't be valued for me, and it wouldn't be unconditional love for you if I said something that I didn't believe fully was true. And I would have to explain things in my way, and I don't want to offend or hurt your feelings for not having the same beliefs you have. And so my whole thing is this is my channel, so I speak my truth of what matters to me, no matter how strange or weird it is. And the more we speak our truth, the more authentic we are, the more we stop being a facade. And no matter how strange or weird it is, the more we feel freed and less trapped. The more we can be our full self and not have to be behind barriers. Now, this is something that I felt I should bring up right now, and I didn't really want to bring this up, but it just came to me. Worries and fears that I've had have to deal with experiences of being in different group dynamics that many of us have growing up, even if you haven't noticed it yourself. Others have in your dynamics of your family and everything. And some of us have noticed it a little bit more because we've had more facade in our families. And that's not I haven't seen very many facades in other people's families as much as I have in my own, and others out there. But I've seen some facades in some people's family, but it's almost like they know the facade is there and they're all okay with it. Me, I'm not. I never have been. And I was very vocal about it all the time. And it really messed with me. And so I had to let go and be in my own place and my own freedom and keep to that. Now, some of my family still love me and still try to reach out to me now and then and still want to be, they act like they want me to be the full me around them, and I try, and yet I can't really be the full them because they're not fully able to let me be the full me around them, even though they don't notice it because they're so busy with their own needs of their life. But the same goes with other friends and other people. We can't always be the full us to everyone like we would like to be, but we should be as much the full self as possible. And then just keep on doing it until they finally accept that is who you are. And they may think that you're something that you're not. So I had friends, when I was following what I thought we were supposed to follow in the religion I was in, was I followed this mentality where we're supposed to not joke around, but then sometimes we do. And it's like, and we know that sometimes we're not going to be perfect at it, but then sometimes we don't, and then we feel, and it really messed with me because I could never be one way or the other or both. I had to find out what I was, what my purpose was, who I am. And so there was a lot of judgments that I noticed that they thought of me when I wasn't able to be really honest with who I was, and I wasn't supposed to go with my urges or bring up my urges or ideas because you're not supposed to talk about it, and it makes people uncomfortable in the religion. And so I was taught, like, when we joked about different stuff, and as guys hanging out with other good dudes, if we joked about like whipping each other on the butt with a towel, or joking about gay and seeing if who can handle gayness more than the it's just like these weird games. And I think it's more common in Mormonism and the LDS Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints connection than it is any other religion. But maybe other religions do it too. but I know it more prominently in Utah. And I realize that it's a Utah thing, but there are other places that do similar dynamics that they bring to those other states. But I realized that it was a MK Ultra gaslighting thing that was going on that I didn't really catch on until later. And I don't really like talking about that because I don't like bringing that energy into conversations. But I'm trying to bring it into a spiritual healing with focus, where basically my whole concern about bringing it up is not a concern, it's just an observation of honesty, and that I feel I should share, because I don't hide my feelings anymore. If I feel I need to say something or bring it up, I'm going to bring it up. So, and it frees me from it. It heals me. And that's part of what we should be. We should be more honest with our feelings and not hide our true selves. But bring it up in a more easier way for us to bring it up without truthfully trying to push or make others feel uncomfortable. But this is about me. And so I need to be honest with my situation so I can heal. So if anybody ever feels uncomfortable about any video that I or anyone does, don't take it personal. Move on to someone else's that fits with your vibe. Because we're bringing up pain to heal it. We don't want the pain to be there, but we don't want it to be given to you either. And we're not trying to make you feel ultra sensitive or feel hurt by not noticing that we had that pain and that you and others may have caused it. And it wasn't really your fault if you didn't mean to, okay? But it also doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And so we all did it to each other, and so we just need to acknowledge it and then hug or care or love it out and forgive it and just heal and mend it. And then learn over time, be open to learn why that occurred and what was really going on by being authentic, honest, and less facade-y. Because we don't always figure out why it happened or what's really going on and why or what the reason is for it. We usually find out later about it. So for this particular video, I wasn't planning on going into that as much, but what is interesting is what I realized when I was joking with my friends that were my friends that gave up on me because of brothers or others doing an ultimatum and falsely blaming me for something that their own brothers actually did and accusing me of things that weren't even true or embellished, which is not true, and adding on to and totally out of proportion, which most of us that were TBM, to be Mormon, or connected personalities learned to do that and didn't realize we did it until later after we realized what we were doing. And it's a type of gaslighting abuse that we end up picking up on and doing because we're pushed into indoctrinations that get us to feel guilty or think that we must in order to repent or heal for God and through Jesus and whatever, and covenants and agreements and blah, blah, blah. And so the whole thing is, with my friends or family, when mostly friends, when I was around certain ones of them that would joke sexually or joke in certain ways, and that were close to my age or a little younger than me. Most of them were usually younger than me, like by a year or two, and I was usually the oldest, but they seemed more close to my way of thinking. But I just, when I was around them, there would be times where I would be honest to them about something and they wouldn't believe that I was being honest to them. And it hurt because I was being honest. And I told them that I was. And it made me realize that maybe they have lied to me, and that's why they know that they feel that I was being dishonest, because they were dishonest in that same way to me, is what I now think could have been going on. But it doesn't mean that it was. I started to realize that they were keeping secrets from me, and they teach to gaslight or talk behind the other person's back about their irritations about each other. Instead of being upfront to each other about our feelings because we're afraid that the other will react, I just don't like any form of destructive vibes. I like to be honest about the vibes and then heal each other, blessings into being. So that's the groups I want to be a part of now. And that's why I never fit in their groups, because none of them were a blessing into being focused like I am. My way of blessing into me. Maybe they were in other ways, and maybe they are. And if they are, then maybe they'll find out that I am, and they'll come back to me, and we'll do that. That'll be awesome. The whole thing is, some of them will want to try to bring people back in, and they'll be facades. And I pick up on that really quick. Sometimes I haven't, and it takes me a little bit because I always give individuals the benefit of the doubt. Unless I've already done that several times, then it's harder for me. But just in case they are genuine about it, I still hope and add my energy to theirs right now. And anytime I think about it, I go, I bless they have what they wish to have, that they feel that I and their energies can create for them and their life individually, for them, healing, for their life, for their wealth, for their happiness, for their belief of needs. I bless it now. I pray for it now. I know it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then for them, they would need to say, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Or they would need to say, in their belief systems, amen. Or thank you, Yahshua. Bless in the name of Yahshua, Joshua, whatever abbreviation, or God, or Allah, or whatever that belief system feels that they need to have in there. And so I want the same unconditional connector that exists, whatever it does, to be there for them. So I don't limit it. I actually expand it to whatever is deity, that's unconditional love, or whatever energy they need that they feel will make what they require it to, based on what they feel conditionally it has to be for them. Because they do a conditional way, a lot of them. And those that don't, awesome. Some of them don't see it as a condition, but they think it's a necessary condition based on what is required. And it's like, why limit yourself? But it's okay. I got to forgive that, put doubts aside, and be like, bless them. There is no limits to me, but if they feel there must be, then it is that way for them. And they have achieved the limits to be provided it. Unconditional is how I look at things. And so for me, if it needs to be conditional for them, then that's the way it will be. And they've met the conditions. I see them as if they met the conditions they are supposed to meet, and now they have it. Because that's what they feel is required to create its manifest creation. So that's how I look at it. And I've noticed that some people say they are about unconditional, but then they have conditional belief systems or teachings because of their parents or family get them to think that way, or they feel that could be possible, and they don't want to doubt them, and they don't want to say that they're wrong because they love them and they care about them and they want to fit with them and they want to be balanced with them. And I'm like, that's awesome. Be the you that you feel you should be, but don't do it because other forms of yourself say you must. Balance yourself to what you feel you're okay doing. And if you're okay with those conditions, that is you conditioning for that. And does it mean that it will work or won't work by doing the conditioning? It works within conditioning. It always does. When you do unconditional, full love, peace, joy, it's stronger. And they notice that in studies. When you're not limiting things, and something that you're limiting by being unlimited. And it's like, yeah, you are, and you aren't. And so there's a lot of confusing thinking thoughts that we all have because we're always contradicting ourselves because of the frequencies and the waves and the tricks that we've been brought up in the different realms and realities we've been in. But now we're healing. Everything is correcting and becoming more sensible, more aware, more plausible, more blessings. And that's what we've always wanted. Everyone wants that. And everyone thinks that it has to be done a certain particular way based on what they were taught that their individual texts and scriptural teachings said must be done. But when you look at all of them as pieces of a whole, you notice the fullness. So that's what I'm about. So for me, when my friends or family, mostly friends, family didn't really do this as much. Some kind of did, but then they felt bad, or some of them didn't later. But most of them tried to keep their behavior of those kind of things to a minimum, in my family at least. I saw other people's families where they were all over the place, but then you would be part of it and you're not used to it, and then they would see you doing it way too much or responding weird to it. And I always felt weird because I never had those allowances or those chances to be the full me that I wanted to be. And so I went a little bit further, and then I was like, whoa, wait, I didn't react, or they thought it differently in that, because I was bringing the same energy I was in into an atmosphere that I finally could be me, but then I brought in too much. And now I just don't care. Now it's like, I bring in whatever energy I have and I'm okay with it. But once you become more comfortable with you being the you that you already are, and that you are becoming more of that comfort, you finally mend and you finally can heal. Even with things you're still dealing with, it mends it better, and eventually it will be fully a perfect you, a perfect blossom, a perfect rose, a perfect whatever that you've always wished to be seen as. And so what is really cool is one of the things that I noticed with the friends is when they said stuff to me like, oh, well, you're flirting with this person. I'm like, no, I'm not flirting. I'm just talking to them. And they're too young for me. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And they're like, no, you are. You're right. They would add on to get under your nerves, or they would do it thinking that they're right about it. And so they manifest that atmosphere to make it seem true to them. So they're actually putting blinders on, thinking that it's true when it really never was. And I noticed that a lot of my friends in the religion I was in did that a lot. Some didn't. Some were really nice and cared, but some of them were very, very, like, scared to do certain things past a certain point because it was wrong, and so they wouldn't watch certain movies on Sunday or shows because they knew that it would go against the spiritual teachings, even if it was a religion show. If it had jokes or jokes that seemed a little bit inappropriate or sacrilege, they would be offended by it, which I don't blame them, because they want the right energy for them. So I'm not laughing. I felt the same. That's why I'm laughing, because I felt the same connection, and at times. So I relate with them, and I actually respect them doing what they feel they should do, even if I disagree. Honestly, I think if they feel they need to do that, that's awesome. I have friends that follow certain paths that they feel they should, and I support them because it matters to them. I want them to feel validated for who they are, because they got to trust themselves and their instincts. And there must be a reason for them to feel that they must do that. And it's not always about because they were abused or insensitive. It's part of it, but not necessarily in everything that they're choosing. Some of it is because of things they witnessed or dealt with that they felt resonant that this is what they need to do for a certain purpose to protect them or help them for something that was about to happen or could happen. And so for that moment, that's what they needed to do. And they always are doing that, and they're choosing that because they feel that that is what keeps them safe or keeps them on the path that they should be on for whatever purpose. And I'm like, okay, well then do that, because that's awesome for you. Even if I don't do it, I'm grateful that you're doing what you feel you should. And I'm always going to support you in that as a friend from my heart. And so that is why so many that are outside the church love those that are outside the church at times, because we aren't as judging. And I always loved people outside of the church more. I noticed that there was some that were more open and let me be me more. And I always appreciated more, and I didn't feel as judged by those within the church as I did with those that were out of the church. I'm like, what are they doing differently that I'm not. But then there are people outside of churches that have abusive relationships and situations where their self-worth was messed by those societies, because it happens out or inside churches or cultures or societies. All sides do it. And that's something I had to realize too. But what is really the best is once you're being the real you, whether you choose to be in a church because you feel that that's where you should be, or outside of one, you really become the full you. And you start to go, do you know what? This feels right. And maybe I'll go another direction. Maybe I'll go back to a certain society at some point if I'm drawn to, or if I finally get knowledge that confirms that that's what was missing, and that's why I didn't feel right, because I needed to know why, and lies were being taught and not fully showing me, or at least I was seeing lies or communicating because of bad seeds within those groups. But it's just, for me, it was more than that. There was a whole bunch of stuff, and legal and other stuff that just didn't seem right. And I was like, I thought it was better than this, and it felt better than this, and it was supposed to, and then it went all haywire. And I wondered what happened, and it's because we shift timelines and all sorts of stuff is what I noticed. And so maybe there is a timeline where certain churches are the true church completely for that timeline, but it doesn't mean that it's the ultimate peace, because the ultimate peace is peace itself for all, to be provided for all their well-beings and needs and everything without conditionings. That's full peace to me, and that's the peace realm I want to be part of for all. And that means everybody can be whatever they want to be, and that yes, to be more beings, you would need to know and find a different way of doing it if you're choosing to be a certain type of lifestyle, but you can also manifest to make up for what that new change is. And it's like, so that it's more still the way that you would think it needs to be. And it will work out. It's just really cool. So with my friends, I've had friends that would think that I desired certain things, or that I was gay when I wasn't gay. And I'm not against others choosing to be what they want to be. I think it's great if people choose that they find who they love. That's why I became my own minister, so I can marry anybody of any kind of orientation. It doesn't bother me. And I don't know the right words or the right phrases to say it, so forgive me, because I'm really new to the whole paradigm of people being different, transgender, LGBTQ+, whatever. But I do have my limits for me. But it doesn't mean that I want others to be limited. I do want respect for children, and I do want the knowledge of not pushing children into things that they're too young to know or be sexually or anything. I don't agree with doing that, so I'm against any form of pedophilia. Or others thinking that I am, because no. Children are so innocent and caring, and we don't need to put them through that, or to think that I or others would do those kind of things, because I would, no. It's just not for me, and it's wrong for the child abusive, in my personal opinion, to have a child to do those things with an adult that shouldn't be pressuring that child's development that too quickly into those things, and it could damage them. And it's just, until we understand metaphysical connections of reincarnation, of when the best time of lifespan to be with someone is, that's just too much. And it's wrong, and it's illegal anyway. And so, but some are, in some states or some places, they're trying to make it more legally or acceptable or allowed by changing them to look like somebody they're not, so that they can get away with it. And it's just horrible. And so I've had friends that were trying to push that vibe, belief about me or whatever, because I was trying to talk to them and there would be certain things that they would manifest me accidentally saying that would come across not what I meant it as, and then they would take it, oh, you meant it that way, blah, 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 blah. And then they get you all to, and then they get others to believe that, and that's gaslighting. Basically putting people under a bus to be run over for something they didn't deserve to be put under the bus for, because they weren't even saying what was said. They reversed their things and they made up choices and all. It's just horrible. And so for me, I care about doing the right thing for all beings. I think personally, until you're old enough, even if you're past 16 or 18 years old, and you think you're an adult way of thinking, there are some that have developmental challenges or have been abused or whatever, that they need to be older than that to really know what they're getting themselves into to make the right decisions for themselves. And they've been abused to the point where some will try to take advantage of that, and that is wrong for any form of lifetime or being, and for any form of age. There are some people that are older that have younger mentalities of thinking. Some have judged me of having a younger mind of thinking, and that's why I made the choices I made, because I wasn't thinking and I wasn't smart enough, and I have a low developed brain in certain areas. There are certain flaws that I have, but there were certain development things that others tried to see me as or think me as for choosing to have a different opinion about things or choices or awareness that ended up being right later, that all of them all thought differently about. So for me, I think everybody should do what they feel they should do for them. So for those that think you should do a vaccine and do that, I would hope you would research a bunch about it and what you're putting in your body and why and what you're doing to yourself, and to please meditate and pray for yourself, or eat healthier foods. Find out and get chemicals out of your bodies before making that choice, because it wakes you up to what chemicals are doing for those that don't know better. But if you still choose, that is your choice, and you're choosing to do what you're doing. Now, those who try to tell people they have to vax or wear masks, I respect the choice for you to choose to wear your own, for your beliefs of it. But I have my own awareness of healing knowledge, and I can't because of an underdeveloped nose and throat anyway. So I think I was gifted spiritually for this time so that I wouldn't have to, because it's not good for me to do it in the development issues that I have anyway. And so I have a card that confirms it and all of that. But those that choose to, that is your choice to choose to do that, to trust insight that you think is true for you. So it's just like religion. It's the same thing. And there's so much bias about it that everybody has because of what we witnessed. So if you believe the vaccine will help people, then do it for yourself. If that's what you think you should. I would recommend not to, but you need to decide for yourself, not for what I or others say is good to do. Follow your heart. Do what you feel is important to your genetics and your upbringing and your awareness. Don't feel that I want to reverse psychology you in any way, because I don't. I want you to be okay for what you feel is right for you. But please do not pressure on me and others. It's wrong. And if you do, well, we're going to stand up for our values and our systems, just like Daniel in the Bible did, just like others in scriptural teachings did in other religions. They stood up for their faith, they stood up for their beliefs, and proved that they could heal by doing the things that are more common sense. And guess what? They were proven right. They proven correctly according to their stories. And then I followed the same stories of Daniel and others, and I reversed a lot of stuff. So bless you, I love you, and take care. I'll probably do another video on this, but bless you.